Put up later if you want to reach out. It's okay. We have this placemat which you all have on the table, which we're not going to get into just yet. You're free to look at it if you would like. But I thought we could start our conversation out tonight by thinking about what are our assumptions about mentors. Let's just, throw out some ideas. What do we think about mentoring right now? What do we assume about finding a mentor? Who is a mentor? Anybody get started? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a mentor is someone who has done what you are trying to do, essentially, and they can give you advice on their journey, which is like how you can do it.
So somebody with experience, somebody who's done what you've done, that's great. What else?
Someone who cares about your development.
Someone who has your best interest at heart, cares about your development, that's great. These are really wonderful ones. What are some other things that we think of when we think of a mentor? Who is that person?
I would think older.
Somebody older.
Or older than me.
Older than you. Okay. Very common assumption. Is it true? By the way, I wonder. Not necessarily, but we think of it as one of the. So somebody older, somebody more senior. Anything else?
A role model.
A role model. So, somebody who does things in a way that you can aspire to be or look up to. Anything else? What else? How about how much time you spend with a mentor? How much time do we need to spend with a mentor? Any ideas? Depends,
Like
right?
whether you're working on something specific with them or being more of a casual relationship.
Right. We might assume that we need to spend a lot of time, which may not necessarily be the case. Sorry, you wanted to?
Oh, I was going to say somebody who opens doors of opportunity.
Somebody who opens doors. Very good point. You need to be shepherded through the process, and so mentors can definitely provide that here at NC State. You see that a lot. Did you have something else?
Oh, I mean, once a week.
Oh, you have, yes.
Right now,
That's what you're working on right now. Well, I think that, we kind of have in mind what we think mentoring might be. How many here have ever had a mentor? Yeah, so most of us have. And even if we think we haven't had one, we probably have had individuals who have influenced us and helped us think about things in new ways. So let me see if I have any. So I thought, we also think of mentors as dispensing advice, giving guidance, opening doors, putting us in situations maybe where we have more visibility, and maybe, the sage on the stage, somebody who can bestow, knowledge or skills on us. But I would argue that a mentor could be potentially anyone. And our mentoring relationship could last, for even just one encounter. And you can call that a mentoring episode. So mentoring is less about fitting into some prescribed relationship with an individual, but more about focusing on the outcomes and what it is that we're looking to get out of this relationship. So, what is mentoring? Any ideas? What is mentoring?
Encouragement.
Encouragement.
Sharing perspective.
So sharing, kind of mutual thing.
Assisting with developing strengths.
Developing our strengths, gaining knowledge, competencies.
Helping you get where you want to go.
Helping you get there. Right. So you have a vision, and they can help you take those steps. We call a mentoring relationship a developmental relationship for all of the reasons that everyone has mentioned here. So it's a way for us to be inspired, learn, grow, and to achieve some outcome that we like to achieve. And I've heard a lot of people in here mention that you're interested in entrepreneurship. Perhaps you are taking courses, or maybe you thought you have a business idea that you're trying to get off the ground. So that's kind of where my background came from and why I got involved and interested in mentoring as a topic. I'm a 3-time entrepreneur. Even though currently I work at NC State, I do have a consulting business also on the side. But in the past, I have worked in manufacturing. I have worked had a retail store. I've had with partners, construction company. When I started my doctorate work, I thought to myself, how did I do all of those things? How did I go from one kind of completely different setting to another? And when I really started thinking about my own experience, I realized it was the mentors in my life that helped me, acquire the skills that I needed to be able to be nimble and to reinvent myself as entrepreneurs do. So there's also a mindset, I would argue, involved in mentoring. So tonight, I thought that we could spend a little bit of time looking at what do we need right now? Because we're all in different stages. I'll just give you a little bit of background about the study that I conducted that kind of led to this placemat that we have here. I came out of the College of Education and Training and Development, and so looking at developmental relationships was important to me because my real base interest, I think, is in human development. And so what I did was I interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs at Raleigh HQ and American Underground and all around in the Triangle area to find out what the entrepreneurs that are around us were experiencing with their mentors. In addition to that, I scoured the literature, which there was very little. There's more now about mentoring for entrepreneurship. But there really was very little. And workplace mentoring just didn't quite capture the mentoring relationships that I was seeing in our entrepreneurial community. So I thought that was a really unique place to begin looking at how could we learn more about what mentoring really is and how it's most effective. So I came up with an instrument after my interviews and scouring the literature, and I administered this instrument to 50 entrepreneurs. And from that study, I was able to derive from that 4 distinct viewpoints about mentoring. And it's not like a stage. It's not like you go through stage 1 and then you become stage 2 and forward that way. You can actually move in and out of different approaches to mentoring yourself. So the 4 different mentoring perspectives that I came up with in my study was, number 1 was competence builder. So competence builder, as you can probably imagine, is somebody who wants to engage in mentoring activities that build competency, knowledge, learning something new. The second group were the self-developers, individuals who were looking maybe for more personal growth, role modeling, aspirational encouragement. The third group were the network expanders. These individuals wanted mentoring to be more flat and reaching outward, so peer relationships were more important. Feeling that more flattened structure to be able to, get feedback from peers, expand the network that way, kind of lateral mentoring. And then the fourth group were what I called respect seekers. And these were individuals who were looking for mentoring they needed to have a base of respect and trust before they entered a mentoring relationship. And these individuals found that was in learning about the body of work of the other person. So they kind of approached it from, I've studied your body of work, I really respect, what you're doing, and, can you take a listen to my ideas? So there was a different level of engagement. So this is what my study found. And when I went into the details of the analysis, there were 22 items that really rose to the top that you'll find here in the placemat. which were my chapter 5 findings, basically, to say these are the things that are the most distinctive among those 4 points of view. So, for example, on the top right, receiving feedback on projects tasked to improve performance was more valued by individuals who were looking to build their confidence. So that makes sense, right? So we're gonna spend a little time looking at the mentoring placemat here, and I thought for a quick check-in with you beforehand, you can take a moment to just flip over the placemat. Before we get into it, I'd love for you to take a couple of minutes to read through. We're going to do a SMART goal. Has anybody done this before? A lot of you have, so this is going to be easy. I thought that it would be good for you to just, for us to think about one thing that we're all working on, that we'd all like to, if we were to have a mentor that we'd like to reach out to. Let's set ourselves a mini goal that we can work on, that we're going to refer back to when we do the other side. So let's just take a couple minutes to jot down some ideas, a specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound goal. Let's think of something small that you're working on right now that you'd like to move yourself forward. One of your goals, it could be an educational goal, it could be a network goal, it could be something personal. So if you take a moment, does everybody have a pen?
Yeah. So does anybody need a pen? I don't need any pens. You need one? Okay. I'm gonna grab some.
Can we have more than 2 minutes? Because it might take me
Yes.
half an hour to write my goals down.
Let's take 5 minutes.
Okay.
If people are finished up. So trying to jot down within each of those areas, something you're working with now. Yes. 5 minutes.
Does anyone needs a pen? We're all good?
You can read that, it's fine.
Okay, we'll go around and just share what you chose and maybe a little bit about your goal if you'd like to share, but why these items that you circled were meaningful to you. So you can share in your table groups for about 5 minutes or so. We'll just let everybody have a chance to chat, and then we'll come back to it as a larger group. And talk a little.
Go first.
We haven't had everything else set up by then. I think it's attainable, and that's why I put my time of December 2019, because I am attempting to graduate this semester, so it's a little bit up in the air. And then relevant, I think it is, because since being in AWE and having more of an entrepreneurial mindset, it's kind of lit a fire underneath me to actually start this kind of children's line.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Great. 2 great goals. So I'd love to hear what everybody's goal is, but we'll go ahead and move through. But you can see how taking time to start with your goal is really, is the kind of the logical place to start even before you look for a mentor, because you want to, you're looking for an outcome. At the end of your experience, you want to have something meaningful to you. So SMART goal is a good way to do that. So once you have that in mind, I'd like you to keep your SMART goal with you as I walk around the room. So what did you think about this activity? Does anybody want to share maybe something that you talked about at your table that would benefit the rest of the group? Anyone?
that our people we had a really diverse set of needs from mentors. So like beginning to realize how complex it is mentoring and finding mentors.
Wow, diverse needs and difficulty of finding a mentor. We'll speak some more about these things. Anyone else? Your table, something you want to share out?
We talked a little bit about the stage that you're at with what you're doing. And depending on what your goals are, it's going to change what you need at that specific time.
Absolutely. Great point. It's true, and I have that here. It changes over time depending on what you're looking for. So that's one thing we can get from this activity. Anybody else?
Trying to, I think it was discussed, you're trying to jump between the role of mentor and mentee and figuring out what you need in both of those roles.
It's true, because we can be a mentee and then be a mentor to somebody else. So we can be in both roles simultaneously, and we can grow into that. In fact, a lot of mentors were mentees at one point and reached, had modeled that mentoring kind of behavior and were able to become mentors. So I would say all of you will eventually become mentors if you're not already. Yeah, that's good. What surprised you about this activity? Any surprises? Was there anything on there that you hadn't thought about before that was part of mentoring?
Yeah, I actually, I love getting together, over a drink or a meal, and I always thought that was, more of a weird personality quirk. I was kind of surprised to see that here.
Yeah, that's, I think, getting that's a way to build rapport and, be a little less formal. So, you can have your mentoring, not in an office, clinical kind of setting, but wherever you are.
I was a little bit surprised on some of the topics here, which sounds like they came from a really interesting place. Because some of it just seems very intuitive and natural and logical, not something I would have ever thought about until seeing it on paper. You would think that the mentor would be a source of information, of inspiration, or that I would be able to be myself.
And you may be looking for that and not getting it, or you may be not looking for that and getting it. So it is, I think, I can't remember your name, Sophie. Sophie mentioned, that we have diverse needs, and we may not even know what we need. We may be going looking for one thing and get something else, which is just as valuable or more valuable for our journey. So one thing about the placemat is that, we're using it tonight. We're looking at it from the perspective of the SMART goal that, you wrote on the back side. So this is a very current needs assessment. This is something that you're working with right now. But again, if you revisit this in 6 months' time, you might find that there are other things. Or you may also want to explore other options or other facets of mentoring that you haven't really experienced yet. So this is something that you could keep up on your corkboard and look back on it over time. One of the things I wanted to mention too is that this can help you look at gaps between your current state and what you envision for yourself. So how do we close those gaps for ourselves? Mentoring is one of those ways. So. Taking from the placemat, what do we do now? What's the next step? How do we take, now that we know what we're looking for, how do we now translate this into looking for a mentor and finding the best mentor and also being the best mentee? So we can talk a little bit about, how do we find a mentor? Any ideas? Where can we start looking for mentors?
Family? Family?
Family, sure. Someone right in your family might be doing something that you'd also like to do, and yeah, so family, maybe faculty members, people in your community. I would also say peers. A mentor doesn't have to be somebody more senior than you. What you're looking for is someone who is doing something that you would like to do, someone who has accomplished or is doing, or someone you can learn from. And that could really be anybody. Now, how do you think you could connect with this person? So say you have identified someone that you might want to contact, whether it's just for a single mentoring episode, maybe like a meeting to talk about things, or a longer-term mentoring relationship. What do you think that might be your first step?
I know in our field, it depends on what topic you're interested in, and if you find a certain topic, then you find a person attached to that topic, I guess. And then you go to that person. If you're not focused on a mentor, but then you could also go the other route if you want to work with somebody directly. It doesn't matter what topic it is, but generally just contact them directly.
Just direct contact.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you could send an email, and you could just go and directly introduce yourself. So I think that preparing for that conversation is probably the most important thing. What is it that you'd like to get from this individual? So planning for that conversation, preparing by having an idea of what it is you'd like to accomplish. What's your goal that you could have this relationship? And it's as simple as connecting, asking questions, and observing the person in action sometimes, just to be able to get that process started. There are different types of mentoring relationships. So, you could have a spontaneous conversation, and maybe this has happened for some of you. I know it's happened for me. You're maybe at an event and you meet somebody, and then you get into the conversation, and then all of a sudden you realize you're learning from this person. You're getting something from this person. You're exchanging information. So this can qualify as a mentoring episode. It could be that you want to see this person again and arrange to meet, or maybe get into a more formal type mentoring relationship. So I think what I'd like to get across is that you have options in mentoring. It's really what, where you are, you have an idea of what your needs are, and you've identified somebody who might be able to help you with that. And maybe that person won't end up being the mentor, but maybe they can put you in touch with someone who can. So, pulling all of your networking skills together. But most importantly, I think, is becoming clear on your goals and what your expectations are of this individual, because it won't necessarily be that you're going to be able to get everything you want from another individual, based on the time and resources and things that the other individual is willing to share with you. So having clear expectations of the relationship, I think, are a key thing to set up front, because if we go into a mentoring relationship expecting the other individual to give us a lot of time and resources, we may not get what we are looking for at that point. We may be disappointed. So how do we avoid being disappointed in a relationship is to have some clear expectations and reasonable ask. Especially in entrepreneurship, a lot of the entrepreneurs that are out there looking for mentors, there are some formalized mentoring programs for entrepreneurs. And these individuals are very experienced and have worked with many entrepreneurs. And if we're fortunate enough to work with someone who's a really seasoned mentor, we might find that they give us a lot of homework to do. We have to go away and do the work. They're not going to do the work for us. So, when engaging with the mentor, having those clear expectations up front is really important. Um, And again, we talked about the length of time we might engage with a mentor. We're not asking for a lifetime commitment. It could just be, a meeting or two to help us get to the next level. So, another thing is seeking out the people that we're already working with to see if they know folks that we can get in touch with, who they might recommend that we have a conversation with to be able to help us move things forward. Are there any questions right now based on the placemat or anything else that you're thinking about?
I'd like to say something. I was thinking about what Dakota said earlier about their age, someone older than them. And I just want to say, as a faculty member, and there's a lot of students in the room, and that I find you may not know that you're being a mentor to somebody, which I think is a very interesting thing, because I think we see mentorship as sort of this formalized give and take situation. There's a defined relationship. Someone's asking for something, someone else is getting something. There's a process to it. But I find so I put down my two first things were being a source of inspiration and then feeling positive energy and enthusiasm when we're together. I get that from you guys. I get that from the students I work with. And I feel for me, I'm getting as much energy and mentoring, and I'm learning something, and I'm seeing things in a different perspective than I would if I was asking somebody for advice. It's just that you never know when you're being a mentor for somebody. You never know when you touch someone in a way that they are going to learn and grow from what you're doing. So I love this idea of what's on here about this positive energy and enthusiasm, because personally, I feed off of other people's energies, and it helps me walk away and do something better than I was already doing. So I really love the idea of, is it an age thing? Not necessarily, because I can get inspiration from Marina's daughter over there. I don't know if that's mentoring, but it's that positive vibe that I might be learning something.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. And it touches on what, in the literature, mentoring, there's a lot of workplace mentoring literature out there that talks about a senior person is mentoring a junior faculty or junior person in the organization to try to get them moving up the ranks and promotion through giving visibility and opportunities and sponsorship and so on. But contemporary mentoring, contemporary human development and developmental relationships speaks to exactly what Dr. Kate is talking about. It's the relational aspects of mentoring that are really strongly appearing in the entrepreneurship community. So we do, we find these things are more the unspoken things. It may not be directly working on a task, but being inspired and feeling that positive energy. So, yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Any other thoughts? There's a lot of information about how to do mentoring that you can find in terms of setting a schedule with the person that you're meeting, setting an agenda for the time that you have together. So going in with a plan for yourself about how you want to spend that time, because this person is giving you time freely, usually. And so, just respecting that by coming prepared. Things like logistics, where you're meeting, if you'll meet again, so the frequency of when you might meet, and goals. And also thinking for yourself what actions you take between mentoring sessions when you're meeting with someone, so that you're doing the work so that you can report to your mentor. And having one thing that a mentor is really great for as well is to hold you accountable for those things that you're trying to create for yourself. So, and that's entrepreneurial mindset. So when we're applying that kind of mindset, our behaviors and our processes and our actions are kind of geared to pulling ourselves forward, but with the help of our accountability partner, our mentor. Building trust is kind of inherent in that too, because, you know, building trust doesn't just happen right away. You know, it's one of those things that we each show up and we do what we say we're going to do, and, you know, we slowly can build trust with our mentors over time. So, being open and candid about our goals, our challenges, what we're looking for, and also being able to, you know, have the expectations conversation if this individual can really help us in the way that we're looking for. So being able to have those conversations to set our expectations, and also to be able to say what we're going to do in order to make our goals happen. So preparing for that conversation will maximize your outcomes. Another thing about mentoring that we wanted to touch on tonight were some of the gender differences. And, you know, are there differences between male and female mentors and mentees? And so what we do know from the research is that mentoring is particularly important for women to help reduce barriers and to achieve visibility both in the workplace and entrepreneurship. And so, but women are less likely to be mentored than men. So we have some research on that. But other than that, there aren't really a lot of differences between the way women and men mentor and the functions of mentoring. However, we do have research that shows female mentors provide more personal and emotional guidance, as well as career development guidance. What else do I have here? There's no significant differences in any of the functions that are provided to male and female mentees, according to these particular studies. And also women are as likely as men to be mentors. So there are really no differences between male and female mentors, but there are benefits for women to have mentors. So we do know that. Another thing we want to touch on tonight are the do's and don'ts for mentees and for mentors. So maybe we can come back to all of you and get the wisdom of the crowd. What do you think, just based on what we've talked about, what you know from your experience, what are some things that we don't want to do as a mentee? What would we not want to do as a mentee? Any ideas?
I'm going to put one because it just came up. Asking your mentor to be judge and jury in a conflict relationship that you're in.
So kind of a boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
You know, it's not the mentor's job to, work out your conflicts,
Right.
particularly if they're an authority figure. That's a job you're going to have to do yourself. And I think mentors get really uncomfortable when they're asked to do that for somebody.
Yeah. So it kind of goes to what's appropriate
Right.
in a mentoring relationship. That's a great one.
So is that's an overall sort of conflict resolution thing, that you wouldn't want to get involved in that? You wouldn't want to ask a mentor to be involved in your own conflict resolution? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I think they can coach you on how to handle conflict, but don't ask them to go do it for you.
Yeah.
No. You would like ask them for advice, like, what do I do about this
Right.
situation?
Yes. To present a situation, yes. Yeah, definitely. So you're looking for, you need somebody to weigh in sometimes on conflicts. But again, is it within the scope of what you're coming to see this person for, in terms of appropriateness? But absolutely, you're looking for guidance. Here's the scenario, and getting that perspective.
I have some don'ts.
Yes.
I think the whole category of unprofessionalism would fall into that. So showing up on time, replying to emails or phone calls,
Yes.
those sorts of
So those are the
general.
do's.
Those are,
Yes.
yeah, definitely the do's. So yes, so don't be
They're-
late.
Don't be late.
don't not reply.
Yes.
Don't not do your assignments.
Right. Do what you say you're going to do. Great one. Any other do's and don'ts that anyone can think of?
I'm saying in general, you don't want to like overwhelm your mentor.
Right.
Like do what you can do on your own and then go to them for the things you don't know what to do.
Right. So maybe you start with one thing, one or two things, rather than a whole laundry list. You want to overwhelm your mentor. Any other ideas? I have a few here to refer to. So I'll just go through these because we've talked about some of them, but taking the initiative, we talked about that, so being proactive. Avoiding perfectionism. So it's okay to show up and be yourself. You don't need to come as some other version. Being authentic and being able to accept that this is a process that's filled with failures, mistakes, learning. Maintaining balance, preserving time for family and friends. So, so not overwhelming, I guess, having balance in your own life. That's a good one. Work hard, prepare to give your best. These are all the do's. Support your peers. So I think this is another good one because, we all are exchanging support with our peers. Think of your classmates or coworkers. So also, exchanging information at that level and becoming a mentor to those around you as well. Taking responsibility for the long-term results. So, you're going to achieve your goal. You're the one who's going to achieve your goal. So, and that may shift along the way. So it might be a winding road, it may not be a straight shot. So, if that's where you want to go, then with your mentor will help you, but we're the ones eventually who are responsible for getting there. Let's see what some of the don'ts. Don't expect your mentor to solve all your problems for you. Sidestepping work, trying to get around what the mentor is advising you to do, so you want to try to step into that. Staying in your comfort zone. That's a don't on this list. So don't shy away from these new experiences. Let's look at what makes a good mentor, what a good mentor does. Before I go into my list, what do you think a good mentor does? What would you expect?
Supportive.
Say they guide. They guide.
Guide, supportive,
Honest.
honest. Able to
Redirect you and go
right, okay. Help you get on a different path if things aren't working.
Non-judgmental.
Non-judgmental, right. They're not tearing down ideas as you present them. Listening, showing up,
Check in every once in a while. Check in.
check in.
For work.
Check in. And that's a difficult one if somebody's really busy and so sometimes the check-in might fall back to us to check in, but sometimes mentors will check in also. See what else we have. Listen, constructive criticism, so being able to redirect, not be judgmental, but to give us some constructive things to think about for wherever it is we are on our journey. Knowing that that will change over time as we accomplish our goals and as we move on and as we change as individuals, because we have diverse needs and those needs will change, every month, every week, every day, every year. Support and facilitate, we talked about that. Teach by example, so role modeling. Encourage and motivate, promoting independence, so not creating dependence, but helping us move forward, promoting balance, serving as a model to balance work and personal needs. What about what mentors should not do? Where would you draw the line with a mentor? What they would not be doing? Maybe taking over your project, or being too directive, trying to, criticizing, forcing, exerting some kind of undue influence. So I think that these all make sense, don't they? There's nothing really that's new here, but these kinds of tips are things to bear in mind as you're planning to work with someone on your own projects. And there's again a lot of resources online to help you come up with specific questions that you could ask your mentor on the first time that you meet. So depending on where you're at, you could just present. You could have your elevator speech ready, and a couple of your asks, what it is you're looking for. Or you can let things just be organic and tell your story and what you'd like to get out of your meeting, and ask questions. So I'm just thinking now, where are we in our time? Are we getting close to, we're pretty much to the end of our session. I hope that this time was helpful. There's a lot to know about mentoring. I hope that I've been able to get you thinking about your own situation, and you've written down a goal. I hope that you all will be able to realize your goal. Anyone here actually going to move forward and contact a mentor in the near future? Yes?
I just have a question. Why would, maybe people here can advise, but why would a mentor want to be a mentor, or how could you convince a mentor to be your mentor? Maybe someone who's maybe harder to reach or something like that. What would be their motivation behind helping you, essentially, or how can you provide value?
That's a great question. Mentors, well, people who self-identify as mentors, increasingly say that they want to give back. So maybe they've been on the receiving end of good mentoring over time. They've been able to, learn and grow through their associations, and then so they feel like they're in a position now to be able to give back. So a lot of what the benefits that mentors experience are giving back, a feeling of generative learning, because in that it's a learning relationship, right? So, and it's not always just a one-way relationship. There's that relational aspect, that mutually beneficial. So, not that you want to approach someone with slathering on a lot of compliments about, why you want to work with them, but when you are familiar with their body of work, approaching them to say, maybe they haven't considered themselves as a mentor. And you don't always have to say the word mentor if you feel like that might scare someone off, if, it might be too formal, but even just to take it to the level of what it is you'd like to learn more about. I'd really like to learn more about the work you're doing in X, or I really admire how you've managed your career, and I'd love to hear more about that. So sometimes it can be just a simple opening like that. But in my experience, my mentors, we never really said, oh, you're my mentor and I'm your mentee. It just happened that way because of the circumstances. Does that help? Any other questions about, I think that was a great one. Any other lingering questions in your mind about what we've talked about tonight? Yes.
Did you find that from the entrepreneurial side, of people reaching out to other entrepreneurs, that there was a fear of being seen as competition, or how to get around that feeling, because that's what I would feel if I was reaching out to another small business owner who's in the apparel industry. I would feel like they might see me as, why would I want to give you the ins and outs of how I run a business, you know?
I think that you can feel out that situation, because I think definitely there are people who will be open and willing to help you, generous, as well as there will be people who will be more closed and maybe seeing that. And so I think it's a matter of being able to pick up on that. You can initiate the conversation and you don't necessarily know what the outcome will be. The person might say yes, or the person might say no. If the person says, if that block seems to be there, then you can find maybe somewhere else to go. That's what I would suggest. But generally, what I found in the entrepreneurial community is everybody's really wants to see their peers succeed, and a lot of heads are shaking here. So peer mentoring is big in entrepreneurship. So I would say go for it. Talk to your peers, just start the conversations. You just don't know where it might lead. It might not lead with that person, but they might have somebody else that you can talk to. So I think it's just getting started, and then that snowball effect, But peer support is really something that we have seen in entrepreneurship as it's that flat structure I talked about. It's kind of expanding out in a lateral way instead of the hierarchical thinking from the workplace mentoring.
And that can happen here too. I mean, the most energy, a lot of energy I saw was when you were talking to each other about your goals and what you want to do. So I challenge you all, everyone in here, not just to think about getting a mentor, but by the end of this month, so that's next Thursday, that's terrifying, right? The 28th of February, to have gotten down that road, to have reached out to someone, and whether it's through this worksheet, like establishing what that goal is, and then figuring out, okay, I need this little thing from somebody. I'm going to look at LinkedIn, or I'm going to talk to a faculty member, or I'm going to talk to a friend or a family member, and actually reach out and find somebody. Just make that goal by the end of this month, and you'll have taken a great step towards helping yourself. So I have a question for you guys. How many of you in here, whether you're involved in NC State or not, are actually part of some kind of formalized mentoring program? Could you just raise your hand? Just 3 of you. Okay, and none of you are students, right? So the people that are students, are you not a member of a group like that because you choose not to be, or because they don't exist that you know of?
We don't know of any.
We don't know.
Okay. This is good for me to hear, because we need things for AWE to be doing. And if that is a need on campus, and if that needs to be some kind of formal mentoring program for students, and especially students who are interested in entrepreneurship, then that's something that we can be working on. So if you have any ideas about that, you actually remembered, again, please jot them down on the back of this sheet of paper. What would be helpful for you for us to continue this conversation and actually give practical advice, help finding people, have a database of people, for example, in the area who have the skills and talents that you want, which is a great segue into these little postcards that Vanush just gave to me. To celebrate the end of the school year, we are having a skill swap social at Emerge downtown Raleigh on April the 23rd. It's a Tuesday evening from 7 till 10. It's going to be a place where you can go and offer up any skills and talents that you have to startup companies. So if you're looking for an internship, or you just want to work with a company, and also for people who are looking for people with a certain skill set. So this has come because I've had a few students who've said, I develop athletic something for somebody, and I need a coder, I need someone who has the HTML experience, or I need someone who can stitch something. And other than cold calling people on campus or cold emailing, I don't know how to get in touch with those people. That's what this is going to be about. So, save the date, if you wouldn't mind taking one of those and passing them around. If you go to our website, which is right here, you can actually just put in awe.ncsu.edu. We have an events page, which will tell you about the 2 more events we have this year. One of them is the event in April. The other one is our March event, which is going to be about creative entrepreneurship. It's going to be on March 22nd. It's going to be in the afternoon at Tally Student Center. And we are going to be talking about the arts, because the arts don't get enough respect around here, especially on this wonderful engineering campus, right? So if you have friends who are artists, if you have an artist gig on the side that you do, if you're just interested in learning more about it, we're going to have a wonderful session about arts, how to make a little bit of money off of that, and what are the things to be looking out for. So, without further ado, first of all, Rebecca, would you like to come and give Jennifer her? Is this one?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do this first. So I want to thank Jennifer, Dr. Stanigar, for coming this evening. And this is, thank you very much. She has a bag of swag, AWE swag. As is traditional, we also give away a bag of swag to one lucky raffle winner. You should have gotten the raffle ticket when you came in, so if you could get those raffle tickets out right now. And I'm going to ask Jennifer to dig deep and pick out a number. A really lucky person is Most people don't have their raffle tickets out yet. Does everybody have the ticket? Okay, drum roll.
577-3934. Are we twins?
Well done, Andy. Congratulations. All kinds of good stuff in there.
Yeah.